And that is where the Leadership Forum begins. This morning we're talking about leadership at a time of crisis. Which way, Kenya? And you are welcome to give your opinion as well. The hashtag is AM Live. You can tweet me at Trevor Ombija at AM Live. We'll sample some of your views. What we're asking is, what are the solutions to the political stalemate in the country so far? What do you think are the solutions to the political stalemate in the country so far? And joining me, I have a panel of 6 very powerful individuals: Bishop Alfred Rotich, Dr. Mwangi, Rita Mutegi, David Wainaina, Patricia Ithau, and Carol Karaoke. She'll be joining us in just a bit. And before I tell you all about them, let's start with Bishop Alfred Rotich. You know what happens. They have 6 minutes to address the nation, speak about leadership in a time of crisis. Bishop, your time starts now. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Studio this morning so that I can pray with the nation as they wake up now to perform their chores as God intended. Well, we have a beautiful country and we have a beautiful people, and we have come here in order to consolidate our ideas so that we can work together towards making this country a better country indeed in the world. We thank God, and I want to read Psalm 95, that is verses 8, that Kenyans, if only you would listen to him today, do not harden your hearts as at Meribah, as at the time of Massa in the desert, when your ancestors challenged me and put me to the test and saw what I could do. So my appeal now is to help and ask people to listen to the voice of God. In a times of crisis, we need to come close to our Creator and ask Him to journey with us. We, the Conference of Catholic Bishops, have sat and in the past with the other religious leaders and have been offering leadership and are engaged with all the political parties and stakeholders in the electoral process. Because of the gravity of the crisis of the country, and which it is at the moment, we have chosen to convene and facilitate and mediate high-level talks on resolving the political crisis so that we steer the country to stability and cohesion. We shall, in concurrence with His Excellency the President, Uhuru Kenyatta, and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and their political coalition, agree on the agenda of the national dialogue. We call on all Kenyans to desist from any act of violence. Our only way forward is to dialogue. On our part, we are committed to resolving this political stalemate. I quote that letter by the bishops, which was read by the chair yesterday. In order to usher the country and all peoples of goodwill, that we must invest in dialogue. We must restrain from being violent. And as you remember, country people and countrymen and women, that His Holiness Pope Francis, in his letter to the world in January, the 1st of January 2017, he told us, practice politics of non-violence, that we need to dialogue. Where there is a crisis, we need to come together. And with this, I would like to ask the political fraternity, together with the religious people, we come together on a dialogue table and see how we can move this country forward by invoking the name of God. And as we did in the past, that we had a crisis in the past, 1 year ago, and when the political fraternity were actually clamoring for the removal of IBC, we sat down and we were part of that team. And we asked them that they listen to the voice of God. Listen to Him. Let us use this moment and ask God to give us His Holy Spirit so that we be conscientious people, that we do not lose our conscience. And the church, therefore, being the conscience of this nation, asks you to revisit that and be calm and sober so that we can arrive at a solution. And in doing so, we look at the Constitution. There is no crisis in the Constitution. All we are having is a political crisis. The politicians have not agreed on how to move this country forward. And where there is a crisis, we need sobriety so that we can resolve. Many people are anxious, of course, and they are full of fear. We need to allay those fears. Where there's a political competition, we need restraint, and then you tone down your rhetoric. We need to return to reason, and to return to reason so that we use reason to argue and to debate in a sober way, and by doing so, you will find a solution. I mentioned a national dialogue. This dialogue, we the Catholic bishops are ready and to convene and facilitate and agree together on the way forward. So we want to ask the country, as you wake up this morning, walk gently to your office, walk gently to your matatu and the buses, walk gently. And if you have to picket, picket with sobriety so that we can see your happiness and we listen to your unhappiness. And by so doing, we counsel the nation as is our mandate as a religious people, and as a Catholic Church, we want to ask this nation that we continue praying, go about your duties peacefully, and love your neighbor, love your country.
Military precision there, exactly 6 minutes. Bishop Alfred Rotich saying, listen to the voice of God, resolve the stalemate through dialogue, and there's no crisis in the Constitution. All that there is a political crisis, and there is need for sobriety at this particular time. He's also calling for the politicians to exercise restraint and tone down the political rhetoric. Next up on the podium is Dr. Caesar Mwangi. Caesar Mwangi needs no introduction, really. He's a regular contributor here on AM Live on matters leadership and governance as well. And he is also a vision bearer and managing director at the Center for Personal Leadership, and he's joining us now. Dr. Caesar, your time starts now.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Kenyans. I'd just like to say that this topic is so critical at the point in time we are as in our country, and we're talking about crisis. But before I get into that concept of what should leadership do at a time of crisis, I first of all want to really say that I stand here as a Kenyan who loves this country, and whatever I say is for the good of this country, and I would like us just to listen carefully and reflect on some of these issues that are facing us currently. I also stand here as a leader in my own right, and at the very basic level, I'm a leader of a family, and many Kenyans are in the same situation. We are people who have the next generation we are taking care of. And I believe firmly that we need to focus on taking this country to a better place for the sake of the next generation. I would also like to mention that leadership is not just about a few, it is the responsibility of everybody. So as we talk about leadership in a time of crisis, yes, we have the dominant leaders we keep seeing, but we have a call to leadership for every single person in this country. Now, we're in a time of crisis, and the first thing at this point we need to do is really just understand the situation. We're in a bad situation, and that situation has been characterized by things or issues that we are all familiar with. We are divided, we are angry, we are debt-ridden as a country, we are losing jobs in this country, we have become tribal, and in fact some people have been saying we are tottering on the brink of anarchy. And when we talk about anarchy, we have examples of anarchy around us. Sadly, in countries like Somalia, sadly, in countries like Southern Sudan. We do not want to get there. That is a situation analysis. And at this point in time, let us reflect on that situation. It is not a place we would like to be. It is the current reality. And we need to move from the current reality to a better reality. And that is a call to all Kenyans, visible and invisible leaders. The second thing, we need to ask ourselves, in this current reality, what values are driving us in this current reality? situation analysis in relation to the values. We are driven by values currently in this situation, by values of selfishness, values of greed, values of short-term victory, values of me, myself, and I. We aspired for democracy, but we have settled for tribocracy. We aspired for democracy, but we have settled for plutocracy. This is a bad situation, and those are values which currently exist, and we need to move from these current values to a better place. That is the situation analysis. As we think about this situation, let us all realize collectively that we have to move. We have no choice here. We are talking about the future generation of this country, bequeathing them a better place. So, leadership at this stage should think about that desired end. That desired end defined as follows: united, prosperous, peaceful Kenya, where we live with good moral values at the leadership level, values of service, values of transparency, where we give hope to everybody, all focused on the common good. This is where we need to focus our move to. We're at a bad place, we need to move to a better place. A current reality to a better reality. And how do we move? What do we need to do? As a matter of urgency, my dear friends, I call upon the leadership in this country to immediately take a personal retreat for reflection, where they move away from all those people around them who are giving them all sorts of push, advice, which are partisan, and they are not focused on the bigger picture. So a personal retreat, a personal reflection is critical at this stage. You need to retreat, my dear friends. And at this stage, I'm calling upon the two major principles in this country. You need to take a break, a step back, move to a quiet place where you need to move alone as soon as possible, so that you get away from the noise, because it is too much, and you need to start having a personal reflection with yourself as soon as possible. And in this reflection, I believe you need to think about where we are and where we need to be. And you need to think about your personal legacy and your personal role and your position of privilege and influence at this point in time in our history. You are possibly the most privileged people. You can take us to the brink, or you can bring us out of the problem that we had. And that reflection is required urgently. And then I would recommend highly, my dear friends, especially addressed to the great principles of this country, who are leading huge numbers of people, seek advice on the way forward and share your own reflection. And you can start with a small group of non-partisan, wise, patriotic Kenyans. Just select a small group of 7 to 11 people perhaps, who you can consult on your own personal reflection with a desire to move this country to a better place. I am sure that there are people like that in this country. Get together with them, share what you've reflected on, and from there, I'm sure you can find a way forward out of this impasse with the wisdom of this few, and then move to the bigger challenge of getting together the stakeholders of this country and share with them what you've discussed with this small group, your own personal reflection, and the urgency of moving out of this situation. And I think that's what Bishop Alfred talked about. We need a dialogue. We need a stakeholder dialogue. We have people in this country who love this country so much that they are willing to give the best of themselves to resolve this particular situation, to get us out of the current to a better place. And that should happen as soon as possible. And finally, I'd like just to state to the citizens of this country, please exercise your personal responsibility. Do not allow anyone to divide you. Love one another. This country is bigger than all of us, and nobody, and I mean nobody, should divide you on this earth. The only advice and wisdom we should strive for is the Spirit of God, which should guide us, because He is the Creator and will take us to a better place. Thank you very much, listeners.
Right, Dr. Caesar Mwangi there speaking about leadership and saying leadership is everybody's responsibility, urging the people of Kenya and the youth to avoid tribalism, review values driving us, and avoid greed. Think about the desired end and hold the values of service close to heart. That is partly transparency, and seek advice on the way forward from people who are patriotic. That's a direct call to the leaders, and also, of course, echoing Bishop Alfred Rotich's call of dialogue. Rita Mutegi takes over the podium right now. Rita currently sits as the Deputy Chairperson of Connecting Business and Marketplace of Christ, that's CBMC, whose current rallying call is Christians Fighting Corruption. She sits as a member representing the SME sector on the local Kenya chapter of UN Global Compact, and she also served as a member of the Project Advisory Committee, Siemens Collective Action Against Corruption Kenya. She's the one who will be speaking to us for the next 6 minutes about what she thinks is the way forward. And by the way, we mentioned earlier on that you two are welcome to give us your opinion about what are the solutions to the political stalemate. Hashtag AM Live at Trevor Ombija and at AM Live. This is Leadership Forum. We are wondering, is there leadership at this time of crisis? Which way, Kenya? Rita, your time starts now.
Good morning, Kenya. Thank you so much, Trevor, for inviting me to this great occasion. I speak as a daughter of Kenya, one who loves Kenya, one who knows that we are destined for greatness, one who sees this as an opportunity for us to make good the situation we unfortunately find ourselves in. I want to use a very great quotation from JFK. He said, crisis is made up of two words, one which is an opportunity and the other one which is danger. Opportunity is in our hands right now to be a case study for the world. Why am I saying this? We have seen the likes of Egypt, the likes of Libya, the likes of many other that we cannot speak about go forward and onto the negative from a situation like the one we are finding ourselves in. And mine is to say, Uhuru and Raila, you have a great mandate to propel us to the positive, to something that the world can learn from. It breaks my heart sometimes when I look at news and I see what's going on around the world. If it's not war, missiles, if it's not terrorism, surely we have an opportunity as Kenyans to chart a path for ourselves and for our children, a path that we can be proud of. So here is what I have to tell you and I. We have spoken about them, and I want to call us to order, you and I, as citizens of this country. And where I would want to start is a place of reflection for you. First, as a Christian, what can you do? I believe you can pray. I believe you can fast. I believe you can listen to God. Pray for our leaders, for wisdom, for them to know what to do in such a hard time. As a sister and a daughter, I would want to be the one that is the voice of reason in my family, to be the one to say no to tribalism, not to, it's only Raila who is good, it's only Uhuru who is good. As a good citizen, to be law-abiding, to stop distracting, to stop destroying other people's property in the name of, I want to make Kenya great. That's not the way to go if we want to make Kenya great. As a business leader, we are sending our staff home. Why are we doing this? Because we want to put our money safe in the bank accounts. We have allowed the politicians to dictate to us how we run. We have allowed them to put our businesses at a halt. This is what I have to say. I know that people who are behind me are looking to me. As I look to the MNCs, let us take this opportunity to defy the odds. Let us go on to do business like they don't care. Yes, we know the matter, but it's for us to chart a new path. Let's not just sit and allow them to dictate that, you know, we will not go on. So the way you would have been doing your third quarter and your fourth quarter is all stalled because Uhuru and Raila are yet to agree. I haven't seen anybody come to an interview and start fighting at a reception. I haven't seen any CEO come for an interview. Safaricom into Coca-Cola, and they start fighting at the reception, and suddenly we shut down the company. What we do is we chase them out. We pick the security guards and show them the door, and they never come back. I pray that us Kenyans can get past this. in a beautiful way. I would want to take a second step and just address Uhuru and Raila. Your legacies hang in the balance. And why I say this is because you cannot stand on TV every morning and lie to Kenyans that both of your cohorts did not try to steal the election. And I will quote the woman at the well, those of us who are famous, who know the Bible. Let the first one throw the stone. What am I saying? I was reflecting just yesterday. I had a little event at my house, and I had just 20 people who turned up. But when I looked at them, there were people who genuinely loved me, who were there not because of what I will give them, but because they knew that she is a good person. When they call me, they don't call me with the intention of what can I gain from Rita? They call me with an intention of how are you doing? How can I be of assistance? I flipped that card quickly to Uhuru and Raila. If you had such a similar event, you would possibly be having 3,000 people. But why would they be coming to you? They would be coming to you because they know they have something to gain. They all are looking at what can I benefit from being with you. When they call you, they don't call you to find out how you're doing. They call you because they need something. In fact, I wonder when you look at your phone calls, what goes through your mind before you answer it? And these are the people you're putting 40 million plus Kenyans before. These are the people you are laying the lives of 40 million Kenyans before. What am I saying? Get together, the two of you, forget your cohorts. They all want something from you. Sit down with them, with each other, talk. Because guess what? The destiny of this great nation is in your hands. It's a make or break for you, and you will be remembered for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's Rita Mutegi. She says the country is destined for greatness, and crisis is made up of two words, opportunity and danger. And a direct call to Raila and Uhuru to sit down and speak and have dialogue. And she's saying that they have a mandate to propel the country to greatness. And also she's posing a question to you as the viewer as well. What can you do as a person or as a citizen? Be the voice of reason. Start from yourself. Even if you're going to protest, be a law-abiding citizen. Don't destroy property of others, and also saying that don't let the political situation influence everything about you. And a direct call to Uhuru and Raila, saying their legacies hang in the balance. And of course she's saying that the first one who believes that they did not commit the sin or crime are the ones who should throw the first stone. That's a direct challenge to the leaders. And now taking the podium is Patricia Ithau. She is the regional director for Stamford Seed East Africa. She lives up to her belief in a region's potential and our need to build on our human and natural resources and learn to market them, so for us to transform our fortunes on the global stage. Patricia, your time starts now.
Good morning, Kenyans. More than any other time, a time of crisis proves that leaders are born and not made. Or rather, leaders are made and not born. My apologies. There are many behavioral theories that have proven that leaders can be made through the process of teaching, through the process of learning, through observation, and indeed through need. I stand here this morning wishing with every ounce of my being that every Kenyan, every politician, every businessman, every student, indeed everyone who stands on two legs and breathes, buys into the principles of selflessness and of the fact that no individual is bigger than the collective vision of a country. Having said that, there is a responsibility that our elected leaders and our business leaders and our spiritual leaders need to uphold. That responsibility lies in the belief that the power of our word should be used for good. That our passion should be used to ignite our spirit of patriotism, our belief that we live not just for ourselves, but to leave a legacy for our children. A responsibility to speak and to be courageous when speaking truth to power and truth to each other. That our actions be actions that seek to build on one nation and one people. To use our reputations in the furtherance of doing good, of driving integrity. Reputation takes years to build, but only a day to destroy. But finally, I urge that we build on a vision that as a country, we are inherently peace-loving, hospitable, hard-working, and industrious people. That, I think, is what we should be known for. That is what we want our leadership to promote. Kenya is a country that is leading in so many ways. It leads in our institutions. It leads in the quality of our innovations. It leads in our products and in the quality of our human capital. Businesses and all other hard-working Kenyans are the primary generators of Kenya's wealth and state resources. We are stakeholders. We have a right to talk and act if necessary. And we will not sit back as politics impacts negatively on business activities, on Kenyans' livelihoods, and more importantly, on the future of our country. Our country is in a crisis. Now more than ever, we are calling for leaders to be made. Leaders who believe that we have a responsibility to leave a legacy of peace and a prosperous nation for our children. Thank you.
Ithau is speaking to us, and she says leaders are made and not born, but leaders can be made. Every Kenyan should buy into the principles of selflessness at this particular point. We're taking a short break, but when we come back, David Wainaina will take the podium for his 6 minutes, and then we'll get into the discussion. Remember, we also called for your opinion on what do you think are the solutions during this time of the political stalemate. Hashtag AM Live at Trevor Ombija at AM Live. Give us your views. We'll read some of them during this conversation. We'll have a conversation with all of them to find out how this has impacted on them, their livelihoods, the business, and what they think should be the way forward, and what they think about certain things that are happening in the country right now, from the electoral laws reforms, from the standoff on where and when to protest, and the grandstanding from both leaders that they're not going to have any nusumkate government. And most people are saying dialogue does not necessarily mean sharing the government. Are they willing to step up to the plate and guide Kenya in the right direction? We're back in just a moment. Today we are speaking about the Leadership Forum in the Leadership at a Time of Crisis. We're asking which way Kenya, and we are inviting your opinion as well on Twitter, hashtag AM Live at Trevor Ombija at AM Live. The question is, what are the solutions to the political stalemate? In your own words, what are the solutions to the current political stalemate? And several leaders have already spoken. Bishop Alfred Rotich has just been speaking to us. Dr. Mwangi has also spoken. Rita Mutegi has also spoken and given us out what she believes is what the country should be focusing on right now. Patricia Ithau has also been speaking to us earlier on, and now it's David Wainaina's time. David is a communication consultant and leadership coach with a BA in degree in psychology. He's also vastly experienced in communications, advocacy on climate change. In 2015, he founded Africa React Limited. David, your time starts now.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Kenya. I would first of all like to start by saying, by apologizing to all of you as Kenyans. I understand right now it's a moment where we all feel there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of hurt, and personally I've felt hurt and I've felt the pain. And I just want to say that we are all very ambitious as a country. From the politicians to the ordinary citizens, we all have an ambition. And I just want to start by first saying that all of us, being alive, we have a purpose, and Kenya has a purpose. And crisis is an opportunity for us to demonstrate our purpose. As the political leadership, as as the people running businesses, as the children in school, everyone has a purpose. And I want to debunk the myth about leadership, that leadership is all about politics. Everyone, I believe everyone is a leader. In their own sphere of influence, you are a leader. And our biggest challenge in this moment is for us to demonstrate our leadership quality in however form or shape you have. If you have influence, demonstrate your leadership. And finally, I would like to say this. We all know the right thing to do. We do not need a leader to tell us the right thing to do. We do not need a social media post to tell us the right thing to do. In our hearts, we know the right thing to do. So I will just urge all of us, remember you have a purpose. I can feel your pain, we can all feel your pain, but you all know the right thing to do. And myself, I'm here, and I'm standing here to say that as a Kenyan, we're looking forward to a time of peace, to a time of prosperity, and if we trust God, if we trust one another, we will have the right solution. Thank you.
All right, thanks, David. And saying Kenya has a purpose. Crisis is an opportunity to define our purpose, and everyone is a leader in their own right, in their own sphere. It is time to demonstrate our leadership. We all know the right thing to do. That's according to David Wainaina. Do you know the right thing to do? So the question is, what are the solutions to the political stalemate? In your own words, send us a tweet. Hashtag is AM Live at Trevor Ombija at AM Live. We'll sample some of your views during this broadcast. And now I want to speak to our leaders about this particular situation that's happening. And I'll start with Bishop Alfred Rotich. What is your take on the current political situation, your situational analysis from a point of view as a leader, as a Kenyan, as a voter, and even as the clergy? What is your situational analysis?
Thank you, Trevor, for this opportunity. And first of all, I would like to thank the media, and especially this house now. They are hosting us in order to project our voices, a voice of reason, of conscience to the people, so that they can hear the voice of God. This situation is running away from the reality, running away from the voice of God. And I would like to bring the prophet Jonah, the vision of prophet Jonah. He refused to listen to God. And what happened to him? He was moving away because he had a mission. And he was chosen purposely to go to Nineveh to announce a message of God for repentance. And he refused. And so there was turbulence when they were traveling. He was traveling, and that time in the sea. And after reflection, because people felt there must be something wrong with this person, what is happening? So they threw him out. And once he now interrogated and he came to his conscience, he realized perhaps this was the moment. So he actually said to the people who were with him, sailing with him, I refused. And when he regained conscience, and as it is the will of God to bring him back from his act, he forgave him and he brought him, and he went now sounding the voice. So now, our leaders have issues. Political leaders have issues because they don't stay for a moment, in a reflective moment, as my friend and brother Caesar mentioned, that they need a retreat in solitude in order that they may journey and go for facilitation so that they can vent out that which is making them unhappy. And therefore, the only place they go to, their what we call the gym, spiritual gym, is to go to the political arena and spit out all the vitriol, and not knowing that it is hurting more the Kenyans. And therefore, the situation has been created to seem to have a crisis, yet it is not. There are a majority of Kenyans who are stable. Imagine 2,000 leaders collectively from all the divide. They cannot unsettle this country. The majority of people are yearning for peace. Majority of people want to see their grandchildren and the children of their children. Many people want to see prosperity in their houses. Young people are looking forward for mentorship. So can you say that there is a crisis? No. we need to enter into their scenario now, because it is not the purview of the leaders, the political leaders, closing us out. We need now to enter with sobriety and call for dialogue so that we use reason. Yes, and I think the situation is manageable. We can manage it. Yes.
Rita, why is it so hard for people to sit and dialogue like the bishop is calling upon them? And the question now is that, is this really about the people, or is it selfish interest? Because many people are saying sitting down and talking does not necessarily mean sharing the government. Because the first thing when you talk about dialogue, people are saying, nusu mkate hakuna this time. Why is it so hard for people to just sit down and talk?
I will call it by the real name.
Go ahead.
Greed. Greed for money. Greed for power, greed for any ounce that they can get out of a situation like this, they will get it. My Bible says contentment is a big word, and much gain without contentment is vain. I don't think Uhuru, Raila need that 1 million shillings we pay them to be in that office. They don't need it, but they want the power. They want the people, the same people who are pushing them and who are pressurizing them, the same people who lied to them day in, day out for their own benefits. They want them to keep around them because it makes them feel powerful. But when I look at news nowadays, all I see is just very, very selfish people. And it hurts me because 40 million Kenyans are suffering. You don't even think of your own children. You don't think of your own grandchildren. What have we become as a society? I believe if we were to consider others greater than self, we wouldn't be having the situation we are in.
And Dr. Caesar, that is where I also want to bring in the conversation of dialogue, because most people are saying, if the leaders won't sit down and talk, how come Kenyans in their own volition wouldn't just decide and say, you know what, these guys have their own level of fight, you and I will remain neighbors and therefore we need to speak. I speak to several youth out there and they tell me, the thing is, whoever is up there, it doesn't matter. My hustle remains the same. In fact, that is the word they use all the time. My hustle remains the same. So how come the people can't see this? And how come we're still pushed into violence and hatred of each other?
Yeah, you see, Trevor, we are calling for dialogue because we need the people at the top to influence the country positively. Now, some people cannot see it, and I'll tell you why. If you consider the majority of Kenyans, many of them are operating at what we call a survival level of consciousness. Survival. We need to survive till tomorrow. We need to survive. Poverty is deeply entrenched in this country, sadly so. Now, when they are pushed to that level, they actually just think of their survival. And this is very sad. We have to raise our level of consciousness to realize that we've got to move from what we call our ego needs, survival being one of them, and belonging being another. And by the way, the issue of belonging as a need is the one that is used to push tribalism in this country. Okay, all of us need to belong somewhere, but the politicians actually manipulate it and divide us along tribal lines. But many people are surviving at that ego level, and they're not able to see the bigger picture. And we need to transcend ourselves, literally. We need to self-actualize as Kenyans. And that is a function of education, a function of what goes on in the country. So we have a big challenge in this country. And unless we settle the issue of responsible leadership with the right values, we will continue having a problem. In fact, the crisis that is being called a crisis now, if you go to the root cause is actually a crisis of values. Because if leaders do not have a purity of purpose when they get to that position of leadership, a purity of purpose where they say, we are here to serve, that's the purity of purpose that we're looking for. So long as that does not exist, we'll continue having these challenges. And we need to get back to our values. And if anyone aspires for a leadership position, it should be for service for the common good. Simple. A pure purpose. Yeah. But so long as that is not there, it's like building a beautiful house without a foundation. We have a beautiful constitution, right? But we have the wrong values. So the constitution is a piece of paper. It is useless. It's like having the beautiful Vision 2030 we have in this country. It is useless without the values in the people. and especially at the leadership level.
All right.
And I think that is the problem that we have.
Okay. But Patricia, how has this influenced the business community exactly, and what are the solutions out of it?
I think I'd like to first start by saying, if you look at what has built this country, it is the sweat of people working every single day. It is not built by politicians. And so here's a country that has been an economic star over the last few years. And because of a few selfish interests, we're now degenerating and having a reputation that is exactly where we don't want to be. And for me, I think the saddest thing is that there are people who are taking advantage of the vulnerability of the economic circumstances of some people. Because that is all it is. Because logic would tell you that why would I go to the street to break down a car, to steal something, or to even tear down a supermarket, which is serving you, and which is something that you are earning from, and you gain absolutely nothing from it. And whatever has instigated you, that wherever the instigation has come from, they are sitting in a home someplace, having a drink, having a fantastic meal, driving in an air-conditioned car, and yet you are driven to destroy your own livelihood. So I feel that, in all honesty, just to emphasize the points that have been made here, and in particular what Dr. Mwangi is saying, the crisis we have in our country is a crisis of values. It's really a crisis of values. We have now no sense of what is responsible, what is morally right. We do not believe in selflessness. When we become a leader, it is to serve me, not to serve others. And as Rita has also said, it's all about greed.
Yeah.
So as a country, I don't know how we can begin to dial back and drive a dialogue that raises a bar in terms of the values that we uphold as this country. So that we go back to the root and to the core and reflect on each of ourselves and say, actually, is this nation bigger than myself?
Okay. David, I know you interact with a lot of the youth. What is their reasoning? How are they looking at this whole situation? Because some of them say maybe we are the ones who are out of touch with reality. What are they thinking out there? Because like Patricia says, the leaders are driving in air-conditioned cars. In fact, sometimes even in those protests, the leaders are in cars. Yeah. But you will meet one-on-one with the police. Yeah. And you will not outrun them, but the leaders will just drive off and leave you there to your fate. What is their argument? Are they thinking that this is a fight for freedom? Is it a fight for equality? Why are they fighting? What is their reasoning behind this?
I think the youth in Kenya are ready to take up leadership. That's one thing I can say. They are ready to take up leadership, but they are waiting to see who will demonstrate, who will show us the right form of leadership. So I said it again and I'll say it again. This is an opportunity for us to demonstrate. Everyone is demonstrating, but this is an opportunity for everyone who calls himself a leader or thinks of himself as a leader. As we've rightly said, even in the sphere of a family, even in the sphere of a business, the youth are waiting to see a role model. And they're not looking to see the president or a politician. They're actually looking to see an ordinary citizen, ordinary person stepping up. I can say, during a crisis, when you think about a crisis, when you see a car burning, what is the first thing that we do as young people? We automatically think, how can I save? How can I go and do something? So youth are not thinking about, oh, who's at the top. Youth are thinking about how can we do what we need to do to solve this crisis. So we need an opportunity, we need a time and a space to really reflect, as we are saying, but also, as much as we are reflecting, let us demonstrate what we know is true. Let us demonstrate what we know is right. That's why youth are doing what they need to do, even though some of them are acting from pain, and as we are rightly saying, being used because of that pain. But if we are able to act with compassion and actually demonstrate what we know is right, then they'll see the example and they'll follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bishop, how do we turn around this crisis of values? Because some people have also pointed a finger at the clergy, saying that you have failed as an institution to guide the country in the right direction. Mm-hmm. Do you believe you failed? Let's start from there.
I don't think we have failed. What has failed is the people to listen. when we have no humility at all. I think it is called upon all Kenyans, and especially those who are chosen to be leaders, that they sit down with us on a daily basis with humility. And then with humility, they are able to listen. Now, I like what the youth are doing, and we need to journey that way, because they are saying they want to do something. They want to be employed on gainful means. They don't want to destroy, because their future lies ahead. And what we are seeing on the screen in our streets, even in parliament, even in discussion of the others, we see anger, we see unhappiness, and it takes only humility and a sense of dignity to sit and say, I am sick, I'm not feeling well. Yeah. Therefore, I need somebody to facilitate my process. And that is the role. I am saying we are there day in, day out, even before the glare of the cameras. The church is active. We are pronouncing. Look at democracies in the whole world. It has been promoted by the Christianity and religious values. So what we need to do is, what our dear sister Patricia said, I don't know what to do. What are we going to do? What we need to do now is sit together as a country. Leave the politician, bring them to your table. They will not come to you because they fear. They fear a lot. They are anxious. They want to get to parliament. They want to go and earn their salary. But bring them now at this point and use in a crisis. This is a great opportunity that God has given us. Let us turn that crisis and seek, let it be an opportunity. An opportunity for who? An opportunity for more than 40 plus million people to turn around and give the rightful situation and turn around things, and it will become a better nation. So how to do it is use dialogue, sobriety. Let us restrain ourselves. Let us move away from projecting anger and projecting our greed and our lust. I want to call it lust. It's not only greed, but lust. And I want to say it is sinful. Let's come around together as country, the people of this country, as Kenyans, and discuss what is the issue. Let us not go to personalities. What is the issue? The issue is A, B, C, D. And we can sit down together and dialogue, and we come with a solution. And that is what I want us to go now, driving this debate to arriving at a solution. Who can do what? And our national anthem is that we all need, all, one and all arise to build this country of ours. A country of splendor. What can I do as an individual? What can we do as a corporate and as a body of the people of Kenya? Okay. And Rita, Paul Odhiambo here on Twitter says, we are in this cause of IBC, and it isn't about Raila or Uhuru. We could have a president whether if any of those if elections were free and fair. So he's blaming the IBC. And of course, there's also a tweet that came in last night, which I found very interesting. Sadiq Shaban, there was a picture of a protester being hit by a police vehicle. Looked like a protester was being hit by a police vehicle, and he was just flying off it. And Shaban says, how is this not attempted murder by the Kenyan police? Another sickening, despicable act of police terrorism. And right there and then, Mwiruri Kimani says it depends on which angle you're looking at it from. Others are looking at it and saying it's an attempted suicide. So that division between Kenyans is what we are wondering. Because some of them are now blaming the IBC. We are blaming the politicians. There are those who are saying Kenyans themselves should be leaders. Where is the blame? Because the moment we find where the problem is, then we can start talking about solutions. And Paul Odhiambo here says it's the IBC who messed us all up.
Trevor, this is my take. The battle lines were drawn way before the 8th of August. And why I choose to say this is because just yesterday I was reading from a friend's social page where, and I'm sorry to quote Orengo's name, where he says they have studied the Constitution and they know and they were prepared. And what came to my mind is that long before I went to vote, somebody was already getting their muscles ready for battle. And so, whilst I say the IEBC should have truly, truly done a better job, the question is, what else could we do? It's down, it's water down the drain. We are in a situation right now. What can we do differently? And this is where I come to just speak to fellow Kenyans again and say, forget about what that person can do. You're not in control of them. I think it becomes the Adam and Eve story. It wasn't me. It's always the other person. When you go to the streets, let's go 2 days back when the protesters came all the way to Telkom House, and they started looting. Antonio's right next there, people walking and taking stuff from. Does that concern IEBC? Is that IEBC who is speaking and throwing stones? I don't think so. What I'm saying is we are all responsible. And yes, IEBC, you better get your act together. In fact, it breaks my heart when I see you guys coming on TV and we can tell from your body language you're not speaking the same language. You need to give us the security to know that when we cast our votes on the 26th, that justice will be done. Else we keep at this, and what happens? Even your own salaries, you won't be able to draw. You think you're far removed from it? I'm sorry. It will come to your doorstep. Okay. And just going back to the question of the guy who was hit, remember our policemen are also human beings. Blood runs in their veins. Today, if it was you in that car and somebody tries to attempt to hit you, I'll take the case in Homa Bay, where is it Homa Bay or CIR? Where one of the policemen was beaten and almost killed. He has sisters, he has sons, he has daughters, he's somebody's son. He will react either with flight or flee. Unfortunately for them, their training is fight. Yeah. So they will put up a fight.
Okay. Dr. Caesar, what do you view into this? And also, let's talk about this ideology. Is it really selfish interest or political ideology, or just because we've seen defections, even from people from the other side moving to the government now, and you wonder, the same people had said earlier on that they wouldn't work with this particular government. Now they've shifted. Yep. Where does that leave their supporters, and where does that leave them? Is it political ideology or selfish interest? So, and then that brings us to now then the bigger picture. Was this ever about us?
Right. In fact, I just want to just read very quickly the definition of crisis. And I think it points out to the great opportunity we have, and that's what we are trying to explore here. Yeah. Crisis is defined as a time of great danger, difficulty, or uncertainty when problems must be solved or important decisions must be made. We have an opportunity here because we are raising these fundamental questions about our leadership and their behavior, right? And we're actually asking, is this real leadership or there's something wrong here? Clearly, we have the visible leadership in this country, who are very few, what I call visible, that's political leadership, and we've got the mass of 40 million Kenyans who then follow this visible leadership. And the question is, this mass of followers, when they see these visible people, what do they see? They see people with money, they see helicopters, they see motorcades, and they see big promises to the people. And the people are desperate because they're seeking hope. Now, this group of people had decided to take advantage of this mass of people, drive fear into them and tell them, if you don't do this, you will be in trouble because those people are bad. Now, what is happening is that those same people who are saying those people are bad are now joining the bad people. What do the followers see? They see some deception. And it is a wonderful opportunity to start educating the people, to start realizing that whatever promises you're getting should not be taken at face value, because these are human beings seeking their own interests. That is what we are having, people seeking their own interests. And therefore, as we mature as a democracy, we should learn to start choosing our leaders in a better way. We would rather choose a school teacher who does not have money rather than a politician who has a helicopter.
Yeah.
And people are slowly going to start realizing this. And I think we have an opportunity here to start changing the understanding of the people when we start questioning what is happening. And I think that's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And I think we need to continue. And I really thank the media for this. So I would like to urge the Kenyans to really start reflecting on what is leadership about. It is a pure motive issue. If leadership is for the common good, then the behavior should be for the common good. That's it, not for the self-interest.
Okay.
And people should start be able to choose.
Okay, Rita, I'll come to you in a bit, but Patricia, I want you to jump in on this. And Nyuka Bell says they are not greedy, they're taking advantage of politically ignorant society. If we already know all this, then how come we still taking advantage?
I completely agree, because you started by making the point. Do people buy into political ideology, or, you know, is it pure greed? And the truth is, it's all pure greed, because if you look at how parties are formed, parties are not formed on ideology. We don't buy into a party because we have read its manifesto and we believe in what it's saying. Parties are used as vehicles to build alliances to win an election, pure and simple. And as a result of that, they create then an opportunity for the wrong values, for people to buy into the wrong values, for people then to start looking for the things which are being promoted as a value of that particular party. So for me, I feel that at this point in Kenya, perhaps we can treat this as our tipping point. There's a fantastic book that talks about what situations, what points of inflection create a tipping point for any situation. And perhaps for Kenya, maybe this should present our tipping point. Maybe this is the moment when we start to step back slowly, one person at a time, and start to ask, what actually do we want?
Yeah.
When did we lose the plot? How can we get back to being a nation where we do exactly that? We are looking for somebody who is going to serve, somebody who has got my interests at heart, somebody who's going to build, somebody who's going to take my money, my taxes, and use them to build a nation, not to build his house. At what point are we as Kenyans going to be pushed far enough to stop and say enough,
Is enough.
and clean the slate,
Yeah.
and start again with a new set of leaders? So I completely agree with that particular comment. We are at a tipping point as a country, and perhaps these kinds of conversations and other conversations everywhere can begin to build a new coalition. Since yes, we love to build parties to win an election, maybe this is a time for us to build parties to change the way we think as a country, and to start to build a completely different mindset in terms of the way we reflect on our leadership.
And David Ekuro says, I don't agree with you that we are in a crisis as a country. A tiny minority shouldn't be allowed to drive Kenya to the cliff.
And
I'll
that
come
is
to you
correct.
with that back.
And maybe he has a point, but unfortunately, if a tiny minority, meaning that this morning I am not sure whether there will be thuggery, because it is not protests. We have a right to demonstrate, but what we're seeing are not demonstrations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
David,
that is criminality.
And Caesar, you want to jump in? Well, let's give David a chance to come to the
So
Bishop.
how do we do anything when there is uncertainty?
Yeah.
Business thrives on certainty.
Okay.
And if there is no certainty, business stops to thrive, and before you know it, then we immediately go into crisis.
And we start laying off
Yeah.
people. David,
Yeah.
what is your perspective to this? And I've seen several times anytime we start talking about peace, the first thing I always see on Twitter is people saying, which one comes first? Is it peace or justice? We want justice for there to be peace.
Yeah, I think I would really like to say that it's true, there's a tiny minority that is influencing a lot of the decision making, and much of that is historically political.
Yeah.
But there is a silent majority, and I would like to address the silent majority. Those people who consistently have been walking out their lives or just being driven by a set of values,
being driven, as maybe Bishop would say, by an inner guidance, the Holy Spirit. These are the people who need to step up at this particular moment in time. This is the opportunity for them to really come out. And I believe, I was just meditating upon this and just speaking to a few people in the streets about this, and we were saying, you know, everyone has a family. At least you belong to one. Or everyone is starting a family. And everyone wants to see Kenya advance. So this is the point where we will see the true patriots. Those people who want to see Kenya advance, or those people who want to see Kenya burn. So the silent majority are at a tipping point, as we would say, to really come out and show, you know, what we are all about as Kenya. And the whole world is watching us, you know? The whole world is watching. I was recently in a foreign country, I won't mention which country, but all of them were asking, how is Kenya? You know, how is Kenya doing? And I was telling them, Kenya is okay. Don't panic. We know the right thing to do, and we will do it when the time comes. And I believe that.
All right. Dr. Caesar, before I come to Bishop, you wanted to jump in and Rita as well.
Comment on Ukuru's statement that there is no crisis. Okay? And we can look at it in one way. But let me put it this way. Every single Kenyan, in the 45 million Kenyans here, we need to take them into consideration. In his life, maybe there is no crisis. He's just having possibly a good time, he's comfortable, etc. But I've had so many calls and I've met so many Kenyans right now who do not know how they're going to feed their families tomorrow. That is a crisis. And every one of those needs deserves attention. So let us not have this selfish mentality, because I'm okay, there is no problem. And that is the mentality we have among many leaders in this country, unfortunately. There are many, many Kenyans right now who do not know about tomorrow. And they do not know how they'll send their children to school. They're defaulting on their loans. They're being repossessed of their homes. If you go to the newspapers, you will find the highest levels of auction homes, cars, and other property as we speak right now. So let's not say there's no crisis and try and shove things under the carpet and say everything is okay. It is not okay.
Rita, before I come to Bishop, you wanted to jump in on this.
Yes. You know, I think we got here so quickly. None of us had an opportunity to actually reflect on what happened on the 8th of August. And as a very proud Kenyan at this moment, I just want to say, we did an amazing job. What am I talking about? Look at what happened with the gubernatorial race. Kenyans were able to go and say, you served your interest, you're not coming back. It was half-half. The ones who came back were half. The ones who went home were how many? Half. I saw a Kenyan who started understanding what power they have in their vote, what power they have in just going on and queuing for that full morning and just coming out of the other side knowing huyo nitatoa na huyu nitaeka.
Exactly.
It's the same thing that should have happened, should be happening about the presidential elections.
But that's a very tricky balance, Rita, because there are several petitions to that effect.
I agree.
Most people don't agree with the entire result.
Why are there petitions, Trevor? Why are there petitions? If you actually look at the real underlying cause. I was surprised. Yesterday we had National Alliance saying, why are you including everybody else? And it's me who went to court. And I sat down and I said, so when do your rights become yours and not the next person's rights? Why are we just sitting and saying it's I, me? It's time to just actually realize you're not the greatest thing in this universe. Uhuru, Raila, all of you, please start serving. I mean, the greatest thing a leader can do is have a servant's heart. When I look at the two of you, I don't see that. I wonder what, by looking at you, our children are learning from you. They are learning possibly anger, bitterness, that if I don't get it, then nobody gets it. That is not the foundation we want to build this nation on.
Okay, we want to get your feedback a lot on Twitter, but let me bring in Bishop here. And Bishop, this is directly from you. Wilson Obanda in Kisumu says he's watching the show and he feels that the good bishop is part of the religious class that have been pampering the Jubilee administration because they feel their community is in government. Indeed, peace can only be in Kenya if and when there is justice for all. If you listen to NCCK, then you'll know what the current church stands for. It's a shame. And this is exactly what we were talking about earlier on, that we are judged based on your last name. It doesn't
Yes.
matter what you say. The moment you start speaking and your last name is so and so, it's believed that you are pampering this part because you believe you're in government.
Yes, I don't blame him, but I will forgive him and I bless him. I bless him because he represents many people.
Yeah.
But I thank him for venting out his anger. That is what I'm calling for a dialogue. Trevor, you called us here in order to move away from the crisis. I would like to turn around now because we are listening to the crises like him now.
Yeah.
Bring your issues at the table when I am there, she's there, we are all there, and we listen to you. What I see as a way forward is to bring the vision of Ezekiel chapter 37, where Ezekiel was asked to give them a symbol of 2 sticks and make these 2 one. And there will be a cleansing from all these defilements, self-interest, money, all these things, corruption, will be cleansed of these 2 nations. What you have seen, Trevor, in that note is we have built 2 nations in a nation. And right now I see a nation of Jubilee and a nation of NASA. Yes, I would like to ask them, be faithful to your manifesto, but don't divide this country into 2. But let's bring now my role and our role here with the media, with the religious people, with diplomatic corps, with all the people of goodwill. Let us bring these 2 people together and say one thing, that God is going to hold you accountable. And now, how do we move from the quagmire? Because we are stuck and we are looking forward for an election. What we do now is important. It has a very powerful impact. And I would like to all of us to look at the book written and even a quotation from General Patton, one of the U.S. most renowned generals. In a time of crisis, he launched his troops and he walked and he turned round and knocked about 400 kilometers and he was able to submerge. He was able to offer a solution. And that is what we want now as leadership, to offer a solution. And the solution is, when there are 2 walls, when people are building walls, build a bridge. There are too many walls. And Isaac Newton did mention that there are too many people building walls, but not enough bridges. Now, let's have IBC give us a building block. Religious people, civil society, business people, provide a building block so that we can all cross over to the other side and discuss on the issues that have been ailing us for a long time. Because at now we cannot deal with issues in depth. But let's cross over, and cross over diligently and calmly by restraining ourselves so that we cannot vent anger like in the streets. But let us manage it as crisis. Leadership, true leadership manages crises.
Let's see what else you're saying on social media. And Usha Oze is here with us. Usha, what are they saying? Are they giving solutions or are they just venting their frustration?
Actually, there's a lot more venting than solutions. A lot of people actually seem to want to comment on this. I think it's because it's a topic that affects all of us. So I'll just get straight to it. And on Facebook, we have Bill who says, let's be able to speak. I think that comment disappeared. I'm going to read Joseph who says, our bishops have no vocabulary of demonstration in their dictionary. Is the church a democratic institution? Moving on to Twitter, we also have Samuel who says fighting demos by banning it at the moment is not a right thing. We need actions which can change the people's mind from violent demos. We also have me who says the opposition is not defiant. It's Fred Matiang'i who's becoming a law by himself. Kenya is not a Kenyatta protectorate. We also have Bernard who says, all current political troubles wouldn't be there if IEBC Kenya had performed its mandate diligently. We also have Maringa who says, all this talk, honestly, it is too late. The stakes are uber high either way. The only remaining thing is to follow the rule of law. And actually, as I was going through this feedback, I noticed a lot of people have this sort of negative outlook, feeling like it is actually too late. And I want to just throw this to Bishop. I don't know, do you feel that perhaps we might be too far gone? Because you look at social media, you look at people who have been friends forever. And for example, on my social media pages, I see people spewing hate all over. And as much as you try to stay positive, sometimes it's really hard to believe that we could ever come out of this hole that we've dug ourselves in. Do you think it is too late, perhaps?
Bishop, is it too late for us to turn as a country?
No. It's not too late. This is the moment. Yeah. This is the moment. And this is the moment, if we turn that crisis from eating us and sulking us into the deep. Crises are challenges. It spurs you to bring your best. Now we need to bring our best. What is our best? Our best is to have dialogue. Let's sober up and sit down and look at the issue. If we don't address this issue now, then we are postponing. So I think every crisis has an answer. And the answer is within this round table. Yeah. But we need to sober up and say, let's put down our tools. Yeah. Let's not fight each other. Let us not hurl hate speeches on one another. Let us not be aggrieved to so much that we cannot be able to speak. We need to eat. We need to walk. We need to go to work. Yeah. So let's sit down and say, what is issue number one? And that is what the bishops, the Catholic bishop yesterday said. Let's mediate and let us together, these two principles, draw an agenda together. Okay. It is not my agenda, but our agenda together. And that comes when we are dialoguing.
Usha?
Right.
There's still more?
Yes, there are still more people. We have Steve who says, this can only happen when we stop worshipping our tribal warlords and thieves and start placing the nation first before tribal identity. We also have Abdikadir who says, let these two principles sit down and give us the way forward, reflect back and remember the consequences of this chest thumping. We have Abdallah who says, our problems arise from the fact that we are so loyal to our ethnic backgrounds. We don't have leadership. It's all about dealership. We have Clifford who says, why are those leaders not asking the police to stop killing those picketing and give security during the time? We have Toto who says, Kenyans loot and burn cars not to benefit but to express their anger about hunger, joblessness and corruption, yet taxes are paid daily. We have Joe who says, Jubilee and NASA are selfish and self-seeking. None of the above resonates on what the common Mwananchi is passing through. We have Vincent who says, people are building walled fences instead of bridges. Nations are Brexiting. NASA and Jubilee have divided Kenyans. And finally, we have, I seem to have lost it. Right, we have Vincent who says, no, that's the same tweet. Finally, we have Waleni who says, if the church is serious, let them put the pressure on IEBC to open the servers and see if money and life won't be saved. So those are your comments. Of course, remember, this is a conversation that everybody should be chiming into because Kenya is our country. So hashtag AM Live NTV, that is how you can still keep the comments coming. Trevor.
Usha, I know you really tried to get the positive ones, but even I can see from my computer that mostly people are just venting. And that is the anger we're talking about. But thanks, Usha. And we are running out of time, but I'll give you each a minute, starting from the farthest end. David, what now is the next step? Because if these leaders won't sit down and talk, you've seen the grandstanding even on Twitter, people blaming each other, and still the demonstrations are happening today. They've been told not to come into town, they might come into town, and as much as it's their constitutional right, what happens from there? The police are supposed to offer protection. More often than not, it ends into a fight. What is the way forward, even to the youth, now that they won't sit down and talk?
I would like to thank you, Trevor. I would like to finish by just quoting Bishop T.D. Jakes, who said that, you know, change happens when the level of pain exceeds the level of comfort. And I believe this is a time when we're feeling that pain and we're saying we have to change. Can we all reflect and decide on which change we want to make personally? And as we as a corporate body, as Kenya, can we be a voice for the change we want to see? Simple as that.
All right. Patricia?
Okay, I will speak on behalf of the business community and say that our position has been clear from the start. We believe that we have very, very independent institutions in this country that run the elections, the IEBC, and adjudicate disputes, which is the judiciary. And as a business community, we will continue supporting these institutions as they carry out their mandate. We also would like to ask those institutions to remain true to their mandate and not be partisan in any way. And also to remember that truth is absolute.
Okay.
So we as a country, we have a country to build, and we have to condemn any disruptive protest to people's lives and property. We have worked too hard to build what we have today.
Okay. Dr. Caesar, parting shots. And what's the way forward now that we still to be
parting shot in terms of the way forward. First of all, let me just say that there is great hope for this country. There is great hope for this country. I want to repeat that. There is great hope for this country because we are, the majority of people in this country want the country to grow and they want peace. That is the first thing. But secondly, I just want to mention in closing that cooperation and consensus is key to real democracy. Cooperation and consensus is key to real democracy, and I believe we need to have a personal self-reflection, especially at the leadership decision-making level, where people come back to their senses and say, the country is bigger than us, I will not live forever, I need to leave this country better than I found it. And that is a personal self-reflection demanded of everybody. And then we get together with stakeholders of goodwill. And I think this has been mentioned here. Stakeholders of goodwill, they really want this country to get back to peace. Yeah. People are looting because they are poor, there are no jobs. We cannot build these jobs without peace. So let us get back to ourselves, stakeholders of goodwill, sit down, agree on a way forward, and we shall get out of this, and this country shall prosper.
All right.
Yeah.
Rita?
It's nice to hear that none of us has lost hope yet on this table at the very least.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
And what I would want to say to our leaders, Kenyans are tired. We are tired of the rhetoric of politics. We are tired of being held at ransom. We are tired of not being able to do our businesses as we should. We are tired of all we are seeing on the news is, I am in court today, I am going to court tomorrow, I am going to court the next day. Can we be people of reason? And can we be people who value others more than self? And I want to say that I've had stories and statements where some of us are advocating for an election in January. We cannot afford it as a country. It doesn't matter which side you are, NASA, Jubilee, we cannot afford it as a country. If we have to go down that road, then you can be sure that we shall be destroying that which we have taken such a long time to create.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bishop?
Thank you very much.
What next now?
Yes.
We will sit down and talk.
Yes, when we have sat down, I would like to quote from a meeting which I have, and we have been discussing on these points, looking at the Constitution and the election and the crisis that we are in now, and the call for dialogue. I would like to urge Kenyans that we go for the common good. Let's call the common good. Yeah. A nation is more than a territory or a set of rules. It represents the fruit of heroic struggles by our forebears for freedom and justice, our commitments to each other, the rights and responsibilities we hold in common, and the framework in which we can all build better lives for ourselves and our children. It is up to each one of us to strengthen those things and not allow them to be weakened, and to put the common good they represent above our own narrow self-interest. The Kenyan nation stands at a crucial moment. Think about it. It can emerge stronger than this period, but it could be gravely weakened if individuals and group interests are put above the common good. The future of millions of Kenyans will be shaped by what happens now. And I end by quoting that famous General Patton, he said, the things people do before a crisis occurs have a huge impact on what occurs during the crisis. Okay. Let's do what we can with what we have, where we are.
All right. I want to thank my guests for coming in this morning. Bishop Alfred Rotich, Dr. Mwangi, Rita Mutegi, David Wainaina, and Patricia Ithau for all their insights into the current political crisis. And thank you for tuning in and sending all the response and tweets that you're sending unto us. We are saying that just stay safe and be responsible. Be the leader you want to see in everybody else. And I'll end with John Gidanga's tweet. He says, at this point in time, Kenyans should see themselves as brothers and sisters. Arrogance is dangerous, even in God's eye. That's where we leave it for now. And why can't both be true? Fine. So-and-so made a mistake. They say they're trying to correct their mistakes. Why can't both be true? My name is Trevor Ombija. You can always rely on NTV to take you through these unprecedented times every second, every minute, every hour, every day. See you later.